Our next guest and our award winner this year of Peace Award is a very special friend of mine and a very special person, Miss Lisa Schultz. I met Lisa about 5-6 years ago through one of these conferences, through a mutual friend of mine, and then ever since then we have kept up our friendship. And I have kept looking at what she does in the world. Lisa is an amazing person. You know, anytime you and I will watch something on CNN or news and everything else, and we look at it and any disaster that happens, and we just say, oh, that's horrible. And I'm so disempowered, I don't know what to do. And we just kind of like shake our head and walk away. Not Lisa. Anytime you hear anything of that sort, next thing you know, Lisa is up there talking, you know, on Facebook, mobilizing people, finding what she can do, and where she can mobilize people to do something about it. In 2011, as a result of a civil war in Sierra Leone that was senseless, a lot of people were left amputated, their legs would be amputated. And what Lisa did was she arranged for 10,000 crutches to be delivered to all the villages and far villages of Sierra Leone to reach out to everybody. When Philippines experienced disaster, she was there to build 40 homes for people who have lost their homes in that disaster. Anytime I see anything happening, Lisa is there, mobilizing people, talking to people, please do something, and she's unstoppable. She's an amazing person, and she's so unstoppable, and that I wish all of us we could get like a little bit of that energy that is always emanating everywhere. The world would be a better place. Her quote is that we must stop believing that problems are too big and that we are too small. And that has stayed with me ever since I have heard it. Thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you do. It's well deserved, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Okay, am I on?
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting. I feel sometimes like I can do almost anything to change the world, but when it comes to technology, I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball, so you'll have to excuse me here. Do I have
We're gonna pass it for you.
Okay, great. Okay, now we're back. So shortly after I launched the Peace Project in 2010, I came across a cartoon of 2 women speaking. In it, one woman asked her friend, you know, sometimes I want to ask God why he allows all the pain and suffering. The first woman replied, why don't you? To which she said, because I'm afraid he might ask me the same question. I don't think my slides are in order. I'm going to go ahead.
That's the way that they came.
They came? Okay. Okay, I'm going to do it without the slides. I've had a few epiphanies in my life. This was perhaps the greatest. With a few carefully chosen words, my whole belief system around suffering and change completely shifted. Extreme poverty, environmental issues, racism. These problems aren't caused by God, they're caused by man, by me and you, and the billions of people that inhabit this earth. This reality galvanized me, and it also empowered me. If man is the cause of these problems, man can fix them. Around that time, I was also introduced to the story of Jeremy Gilley, a filmmaker who had almost single-handedly lobbied heads of states around the world to get World Peace Day on the calendar, as well as the photos of Pep Bonet, who captured in his amazing photographs the people of Sierra Leone, the amputees, reclaiming their lives through soccer. I then asked the question, If one man can get World Peace Day on the calendar, what can an entire creative community do? The creative community I'm speaking about is thewhole9.com, a social networking site that I founded in 2007. And what better place to start than Sierra Leone, one of the world's poorest countries that recently suffered a 10-year civil war that has been called one of the cruelest in Africa's recent history. My epiphany and the visions of two very different men sparked thewhole9.com, a community that was only connected through modern technology and a love of art to get busy, real busy. In just 4 years, the Peace Project, powered by thousands of people in over 70 countries, has changed tens of thousands of lives. Some of our accomplishments include: we've sponsored the education of dozens of children throughout Sierra Leone who might not have had an opportunity to get an education otherwise. As Claire mentioned, just a year after we launched, we implemented one of the largest social efforts ever to take place in Sierra Leone and distributed 10,000 pairs of crutches across the entire country on one day, helping war victims, amputees, polio survivors, women and children rise to their feet. After realizing that the crutch tips on these crutches wear out in about 3 weeks and then the crutches degrade and become almost unusable in 6 months, we created and produced peace tips, specially designed crutch tips that last for 1 year, greatly improve mobility for users, and extend the life of crutches. They also leave a peace sign in the ground with every step taken, transforming victims of war into messengers of peace. We worked with the United Nations. I think maybe we're good now. So we worked with the United Nations to design a peace museum for Sierra Leone. And then in November 2013, after feeling a calling following the devastation of Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, a typhoon whose winds of 200 miles per hour left over 5,000 dead and 1 million homeless, I pulled together a team of architects and engineers, and we designed a house that could be built with about $500 in building materials in less than a day. On the 1-year anniversary of Typhoon Haiyan, with the community of Tabanak working by our side, we completed our first community of 40 houses. As we speak, the Peace Project is back in Tabanak, once again working with the community to build our first Peace Center. The Peace Center will serve as an epicenter of the transformation of Tabanak. From it, a cooperative will take place offering reduced price staple goods. A weekly market will sell the vegetables that are already being grown in the community. Vocational training will be brought into the community. The center will host arts and cultural programs, and microlending will begin, all designed to turn an enormous tragedy into an incredible opportunity for abundance and prosperity. The goal of our work, though, is bigger than rebuilding communities in the Philippines. We're working on a community development model, a model that inspires disenfranchised communities to recognize and then capitalize on their often overlooked assets and work together to build a better future. This model will be applicable in disaster zones, refugee camps, post-conflict areas, and even to address homelessness right here in Los Angeles. We have another goal. That's to change the way that you and you and you think about change and your individual and collective abilities to manifest it. Recently, when I was in Tabanak, the community that we helped to rebuild with one Peace Project architect, a crew of 6 tradesmen from the community, and a bunch of community volunteers, I stood in front of its citizens and I said, remember when I stood here in front of you a few months ago amidst piles of debris, and I said that together we were going to rebuild your community? Look around. In 30 days, we've transformed an overgrown lot full of broken dreams into a vibrant community with 40 homes. If you think you're powerless, just look at what you've created. I spend a lot of time thinking about how we're going to get ourselves out of this mess that we're in, a world that too often of late seems riddled with hate, where people are discriminated against, violated, persecuted, killed for their skin color, who they worship, who they love, for living in the wrong place, or for simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Where people are rewarded for oppressing others, where countries are raped of their precious natural resources and the perpetrators grow rich, while millions who've toiled in these countries for generations suffer. In the United States, we ship millions of teenagers off to wars where they kill, and then they find out they killed for a lie. They come back broken, and then they're abandoned. In Los Angeles alone, there are 25,000 veterans living on the streets. We tune out, turn off, and then we turn away, thinking the problems are too big and that we are too small. I've got some news for you. If we can figure out how to ship millions of teenagers off to war, if we can put them in uniforms, train them, transport them, house them, and arm them in another country that we've figured out how to destroy and then rebuild afterwards, surely we can take care of them when they come home. If we want to. I've learned a lot in the last few years. I've learned that changing the world starts with showing up. So I'm very grateful that Fran asked me to show up here today. Thank you. And I'm grateful that you showed up as well. You know, it's amazing how our paths intersect on this journey. This journey, creating a world, starts with one thing. It starts with each of us taking one step forward, and then another, and then another. It starts with desire that fans the flame of our intention and creates action that moves the inertia that so many of us are plagued with. It starts with being kind and being just every day to everyone we meet. Forgiveness is key, and often we must first direct that forgiveness at ourselves. If we want to live in a better world, really want it, it's possible, but it ain't easy, my friends. At the Peace Project, we haven't changed the lives of tens of thousands of people by turning away from the problems, but rather by turning towards them. If you want a better world, be prepared to get to work. You'll probably experience disappointment and despair, and I guarantee you're going to need to make a few decisions that others might refer to as sacrifices. There will be times when you want to give up or give in. When you reach this point, there will be one thing that lifts you up and inspires you to continue moving forward, and it is this truth. We are put on this earth for one reason and one reason only: to love and to serve ourselves and one another. Once you realize this and you know it in your heart, the path becomes clear. Your intention will open the doors you're meant to walk through, and miracles like the ones we've created with the Peace Project will manifest. Thank you.